Hello and welcome back. In this episode, we'll be setting up Hammer for your source mod. This will be especially important if you're encountering an error that I happened across. We'll be editing the gameinfo.txt in order to make sure that Hammer will open. Let's browse to our gameinfo.txt. So that'll be in our source mod. Source mods, test mod. Okay. Move that over here. Now we'll go into our gameinfo.txt and we need to change wherever it says app ID. This is what causes the error. Wherever it says app ID needs to be switched to something else. There are two things that you can do here. You can either specify the full path, or you can say all source engine paths, which they have written up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy all source engine paths, and I'm going to paste it everywhere I see app ID. And what this does is it just searches all of the source engine folders for these files. And there we go. It should be everything. Okay, now it doesn't say app ID anywhere. And I'll show the error on screen. If you're encountering this error, this is why. Okay, save that file. Now we'll head over to another window here. We're going to browse to the Source SDK 2013 base multiplayer, wherever you've got that installed. There we are. Now we got to browse to the bin folder. Now we're going to actually add our mod to the Hammer so that it knows where our mod is. This gameconfig.txt is what Hammer reads when it is looking for games to open for. So in order to add our game, I'm going to go ahead and copy this Half-Life 2 deathmatch, this entire chunk right here. So this whole block of code. Okay? And I'm going to paste it in the bottom, just to keep things organized. Tab that a couple of times. All right, now here we got to put the name of our mod. So in my case, it is test mod. Yours might be different. And now right here, over here is where we need to put our source mods folder. So this folder right here. This is basically where our gameinfo.txt is stored. This is what it's going to first be looking for. This is what Hammer is first going to be looking for, because the gameinfo.txt tells Hammer what files are in your source mod. So it tells it what VPKs and what FGDs and all that kind of stuff are actually in your mod. So we'll just copy this location here. We'll paste it in right here. Okay, now everything else should be mostly good other than a couple of places. So that's good. That points towards the Half-Life 2 EXE. That's a perfectly fine default there. These are all good. You want all those to be set as default. That's good, the game exe directory. Now for these two map folders, this one is where your VMF is going to be saved. When you save your VMF, map file, it will be saved at this location. For me, I'm going to set this one to my maps folder. You can see I have some test maps. I'm going to set this to my maps folder from my source mod. Okay, and then this one down here, this is where your compiled maps, so your finished maps will be going. So when you compile a BSP, it'll be going to this folder, and it's very important that you set this correctly. You want to set this to your mod maps. Okay, and that should be everything. That's how you add it manually in here. Okay, now let's launch it and see if it shows up. There it is, test mod down there. Click OK. Jump into Steam, see if our compiled map worked. And there we go. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just make a custom material to make sure that Hammer is actually recognizing when you have added a custom material or a custom asset of any sort. So in order to do that, I'm just going to head over to this website. This is where I prefer to get it. I'm going to download VTF Edit. Okay, open it in here. We'll extract all. Now if I go into that extracted, go to x64, run VTF Edit. Now we'll go to File, Import. I'm going to go to my desktop because I've got an image that I'm going to use. Okay, I'm going to set my maximum width and my maximum height to 1024 by 1024. There we go. Now I'm going to go into File, Save As. We're going to browse to our source mod folder. So Program Files, Steam, Steam Apps, Source Mods, Test Mod, and then Materials. Put it in our Material folders, which makes sense, of course. I'm going to just call this Test Floor 1. Okay, and now what that has done is it has created a VTF file, which stands for Valve Texture File. And that's like, it's kind of like a JPEG or a PNG, except for Valve. It's like Valve's version of a JPEG. Okay. Now up here in Tools, we'll create VMT file. And VMT file stands for Valve Material File. So a texture is the color data of a material. And then the material is actually defined by how reflective it is, by how bumpy it is, by the sound it makes when you walk on it, by what decal it displays when you shoot it. So that's what makes a material, and then the texture is just that. It's just the diffuse color. All right, so go ahead and create that. We're going to name it the same thing as our VTF. Click Save. Okay. Now it's a very simple material. I'll actually open this file for you to read. You can see all it says is light map generic, which is a type of material, and then it just says base texture, test floor. That's it. That is all that we defined. We didn't define how reflective it is or anything. So that's all that is. All right. Now let's go into Hammer and see if our custom material shows up. We'll go to our test map. I'm going to set the floor to our custom material. It's going to look terrible. And there it is. It's all the way at the top already. You could also search for it. So if you do test floor, there it is. Click apply, and it's of course it's hideous. We'll do 0.1 scale. There we go. Oh, it's just terrible. Okay. Now we'll set these as like drywall. Oh, I guess they didn't use that. We'll go with this. All right. Okay. Now let's compile this. Go into our mod from Steam. Type in map test map. And there we go. There's our custom floor material. All right, so now everything works. In the next episodes, I will be talking about adding custom props and changing the material file to make our textures pop more. So give them reflectivity, give them bump, and all that kind of stuff. So stay tuned for that.